Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Greg. Welcome to 3G's Garage. In the shop alone tonight. Finishing up a job on my 85 Yamaha SS440, which has been a 540 for a couple years now. We raced this sled, or I raced this sled, and last year my oldest son was racing it. I couldn't race last year because I had back surgery, but he raced it and he rolled it twice actually on the lake. He was racing unstudded and he was doing really well, but he rolled it. Anyways, so the project I'm working on tonight is I'm putting a hydraulic brake from a Polaris Indy onto the sled. We use the sled for, I'm going to be racing it in lake cross, so like multi-turn ice racing. So I just thought it'd be kind of a nice upgrade instead of the old cable brake, which is not as responsive as a hydraulic brake, and you know, you constantly have to adjust them and whatnot. So I kind of had some time, so I just thought, what the hell, I'll give this a shot and see how it goes. First time doing it, no idea what to do, but I wanted to show you what I did and what I have to do yet. So I'll grab you here and kind of explain some of this stuff. So I built a bracket as heavy duty as I could get right here. Mounted it onto the stock jack shaft and rotor. The only trouble is, so I couldn't come up with a decent handlebar, so my son had these risers and a set of bars off the Polaris Indy, which I wanted to use, except for since I mounted this caliper lower, which is kind of the only spot I could get it, maybe on the back side or whatever. Since I mounted it lower than it normally goes, the brake line was too short. So what I'm doing here is I've got my bars set up. The master cylinder is where it's going to be, I think, roughly. So what I had to do is I trimmed the original brake line off, which was here. So that's about how short I would have been from there to there, roughly, like the gap right here. So what I'm going to do is put a union in. That way I can just use all the same, I can use the same line. I don't know if you can get a longer line, but this is just as easy for me. Yeah, I wanted to show you. So I'm going to put a union in. I flared this end already, put the fitting on. I've got the union, everything's kind of loose. But I just thought I'd show you that, and then I'll show you my flaring tool. I don't know how many of you guys have this. Originally I saw Eastwood one of these, and I think theirs is like, boy, I don't know, 300 bucks or something like that. This one is a Chinese knockoff, which I think it was like 180 bucks. And to me, that was more than enough. It was kind of like I treated myself on that. It's a K-Tool International brake pipe flaring tool. And it was kind of like a little bit of a splurge, because I didn't know how much I would use it. All I know is I hated going to the auto parts store and buying, I hated buying brake lines, because it always seemed like I never got the right thing, or it was just a pain in the neck. So I thought, man, it would be nice to have my own flaring tool, and this thing has just been awesome. Like, I love it. I mean, you can't flare on the car or whatever, or on the machine. You have to do it in the vise. So it doesn't work in all scenarios, but like, you can take the line off and make the line and then put it on the car, or the sled in this instance. It really works nice. Like, I love having it. So I cut a section that I think will work, and we'll go. I'll go throw it in there and flare one end. Show you guys how that works. Super easy. So you've got this little die in here. It's labeled on the end. This is 1/4 inch tube, and I'm doing a inverted flare on it. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. You set it in there. Put the top half of the die on. See if we can do this. Yeah. Try to get it right with one hand. Set that on there. Pinch her down. Now you take and you slide your tubing. Try to get it so it's flush with the end. And this is kind of hard to do with one hand. I think that's close enough if she stays put. So just lock her down, the vise, and now you go to 1/4 inch operation 1. Put a little body English on it. That mushrooms it over. Flip your little die here to operation 2, and that creates your flare. Yeah. All right. See how it looks. I've also bought and used some of this copper / nickel brake line, and I feel like it's worked pretty well. It's easier to bend and manipulate than the steel line. So yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Now I'll just take my fitting, slide that on. Critical part of the operation here is putting your fitting on before you do your flare. Otherwise you'll end up cutting it back off, because you'd have a hard time getting that attached to something if you don't have a fitting on it. Ask me how I know. So I'll take you back over to the sled. Just gonna make sure that this for sure threads into there. I don't want to use it if it's not the right one. Yeah, just checking the fitting here. Okay, having some hard time. Just want to make sure it's the right thread and all that to match this, which I'm not sure if it is. And there she goes. So yeah, so I cut this a little long, so I have plenty of room to make the turn. Maybe I'll set you guys like right over here. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see. But yeah, so you got to have this plenty long for all situations. Like when you fully lock your handlebars, you don't want this to be binding, or you're going to be fighting that, especially if you're racing. You want everything to kind of operate as smooth as possible. And like I said, this copper line bends really pretty nice. You just take it slow and I think that looks pretty good. So just going to turn you around. Turn you around. Let's see what I'm doing that way. Operation 1. Operation 2. There she be. Alright. There's my piece. Got both my fittings on. Get that thing threaded in there. All right, now I just need to, I'm just gonna tighten that down and bleed the brake and it should be done. So you take a look at it. So I've got my stock Polaris piece here. I cut that line off. This is what was on the end of it to begin with. Way too short for what I'm doing here. Added a union with a fitting on each side. Flared this side, put the union in, and then bent it down. I'm gonna leave a little bend here with the hopes that when I cinch this down nice and tight, that I can still access the bleeder without getting in the way. It's those little things that really annoy you when you get old like me. Been messing with things for too long. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining me. If you got any comments, leave them down below. Love to hear what you think. If anybody's got a better way of doing this or perhaps more experience with something like this, I'd love to hear about it. Let me know. Otherwise, have a good night.